The movie began with a young gentleman named Craig having breakfast with his family. As the only son of the family, his parents asked him his preparation towards his plans to travel to Canada to further his education. He seemed excited and he said he was sure he would enjoy all the beautiful places and all the beautiful women. His dad wasn't happy with his answer and warned him to be focused on the reason why he was going to Canada, which is to study, instead of being distracted because if he fails, he is going to bring him back to Nigeria. With his mother and his support, he promises to do well in his academics. Later in the afternoon, they receive an unexpected visit from a woman and her daughter named Ella, who claims to have been impregnated by their son, Craig, who was her former classmate. Craig's concerned parents ask him about the concerned issue, but he denies even knowing Ella ever in his life and that he had never seen her before. He totally denied the pregnancy despite all the evidence of pictures and calls they had. The woman and her daughter Ella therefore had no choice than to leave their house. Upon getting home, Ella pleads with her disappointed mom to believe in her because Craig is the only guy she had ever been intimate with. She then decides to take her to the hospital to take an abortion for her. But upon remembering all the good promises that Craig gave to her, she decides to refuse an abortion. Ella's mom then decides to leave the situation in her own hands and abandons her at the hospital and takes off. Without anywhere to go, Ella goes back to Craig's parents' house to inform them her mom had abandoned her. Because Craig's dad seems to believe Ella more than his son, he decides to let Ella stay for some time so that he can take her back to her mom's place. But all this effort was to no avail since her mom had cautioned the gatekeeper not to open the gate for anyone, especially her daughter. Craig's dad had no choice than to return back home with her, but this made her wife and her son upset for bringing the girl back into their home since they think she doesn't deserve to be there. This made Craig try to leave Nigeria earlier to Canada, but his plans did not work since his father didn't agree and believed that he had to take responsibility for his actions. He then ran to Ella, who was staying in the guest room, to blame her for all his troubles and not being able to travel abroad anymore. Ella then tells him that they both have to bear consequences for their action and not putting the blame on her alone. All this while Craig's mom, still believing that his son is innocent, is trying to defend him in front of his dad, but the man won't still give up because he knows that his son might be the father. Craig's dad had to leave to Abuja for work, and this gave Craig's mom the opportunity to maltreat Ella very well in order for her to leave the house. She was made to wake up early, do all the house chores, cook, clean, despite her condition. Despite all this maltreatment, she stayed humble because she had nowhere else to go. Craig is then seen discussing with his friends how he's unwilling to give up his dreams of going abroad by admitting he's responsible for the pregnancy. One day, Ella gets hungry and asks for food, but instead, she was thrown out of the house by Craig and his mom. Ella pleaded and pleaded, but no mercy was had on her. She had her things thrown out of the house, even though she had nowhere to go. Ella's mom is then seen asking the security guard if he had seen Ella around the vicinity, but he says no. Greg, upon rethinking on all the promises he made to Ella before taking away her innocence, decides to apologize to her, but then Ella wouldn't agree because she was so upset. Craig's mom, on the other hand, was assuring her husband that Ella was fine and was asleep in the house. Ella, who had now become an orange seller by the roadside, is trying to survive by herself. Craig then finds another way of helping Ella by sending someone to buy all of Ella's oranges on time so that she can have enough money for herself. Greg became emotionally distressed considering what he had put Ella through, but he couldn't discuss it with anyone because he didn't want the truth to come out. On the other hand, Ella, who had been sleeping in an uncompleted building, is being asked to leave because work would be in progress the next day. She has nowhere to go but to sleep on the street. The gentleman who used to buy all her oranges comes again, but she refuses to sell them to him because she figured out it was Craig who was sending him on errands. She then bravely sends him away to go tell Craig that if he's bold enough, he should come face her by himself. Craig is emotionally disturbed and can't stop thinking about Ella because he knows that he's the cause of all the troubles she's going through. One day, there was a heavy rain and a heavy storm, and Craig decided enough is enough. He was going to face the consequences of his action, apologize to Ella, and bring her back home. Ella refused to go with him, but he pleaded that he was going to tell everybody the whole truth and bear consequence for his actions. He was now willing to do the right thing and take up responsibility. Craig also goes to Ella's mom's house to apologize for everything that he had done and for denying her daughter. Craig also goes to Ella's mom's house to apologize for everything that he had done and for denying her daughter. He then takes her mother along to see Ella in his house, and the both of them reunite in tears. Greg's dad then comes back from his trip and confronts his wife about what he did to Ella in his absence and reunites back with her as a daughter. She admits she's wrong and apologizes to Ella. Ella then accepts her apology. Craig then takes on his responsibilities. He takes Ella to the hospital, takes her for little walks, and gives her some massages. He seems very relieved for making the right decision. Craig's dad assures him that he won't blame him for his mistakes and still loves him as a son and guides him on how to be a father and a dad. Ella then goes into labor and gives birth to a bouncing baby girl. The two families come together to listen to the young adult's decisions for the future and assist them to accomplish it. They both want to study abroad, Ella in America and Craig in Canada. The happy grandparent then decides to take on the responsibility of their sweet granddaughter together, united as a family. Greg and Ella then set off abroad to continue their education and build a better future for themselves and their children. The end. Within us, make sure to watch the full movie. and apply the lessons to your life. It's worth the watch. Thank you.